I was talking to someone yesterday, he said, they ran in it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And Nigel, are you with us?
I'm just calling him now.
All right, Nigel will be with us in just a moment. So we'll just we'll pause for breath while we wait for Nigel.
Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome back, Nigel. And we're now on to page 72, the representation review pre-consultation. And we have quite the panel down the end of the table here. Paula and Saskia, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Wayne's going to open this paperwork.
And Wayne, Charles, have I forgot? You're right, fair enough. Fair.
Okay, so these are questions for the pre-consultation for representation review. The questions that some of them have been kicking around for a little while, and this is the appropriate sort of time to address them. And some of them are just sort of ones that we have to ask, or that we can ask for the representation review process. So what these are not is the final proposal to go out for a yes or no answer. They're just a preliminary thing to say, hey, we've got these ideas kicking around, what do you reckon about them? And then the next report that comes to council will say, we've got these replies back, this is what it said, and based on that and a bunch of other factors, this is what we're recommending. Goes out as the final proposal.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
And Paula's got,
So the purpose of this survey is to gather information about decision makers to help you in developing that final proposal. This is not a compulsory step. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do the survey if you don't want it. It's just was an opportunity that we could just cast the net to see, first of all, there were a couple of things that, a couple of issues that there were a couple of options that councillors were looking at, and so to get another bit of feedback from the community around those. And the second thing was if we'd missed something and we're developing up options to consider, that a great idea around the community that we hadn't come across or thought about, we wanted to include that in this discussions in that final proposal. So this information that we gather from this survey will come back to you as decision makers to work out what the final proposal will be that will again go out for consultation as a recommendation from the council. And so I guess that also too the mark of success for this survey wouldn't necessarily be the number of respondents, but it's going to be the value add that these people will give you in your decision making.
Just reiterate that final proposal can only have one option. So it's going to be narrowed.
and just final comment from me, through the Let's Talk platform, sorry, Let's Talk, the minimum age is 14 years to register. With this, if you approve the survey today, what will happen is that we now have processing council where Deb and Paula automatically will email the respondents with the survey results. So that will be part of the process. And what we will do on our Let's Talk platform is make it really clear the process, because this is quite unique in only having that one proposal. So we'll do a visual for the timeline so that people can see where they are in the process.
And so in the service, we've included totally optional, so just there for you to have a look at and consider. It was a tricky survey to write because it seems like it's like tell us what you think, but actually the legislation means it's a narrow lane that we're in. So we actually don't have a lot of options to offer community feedback on. So we've tried to grab everything that we think we've got some ability to influence. So that's why there's that collection.
Right. Councillors, questions, comments? All those.
The question at the bottom around should we consider including Maori law?
Mhm.
Could we?
would there be any benefit in having a little blurb in there of why we don't currently have one,
Or what it actually means.
what it actually means? And then I anticipate that, it would be. We can talk about it.
Yeah, we've written, to the Renewal, to give us an official position on what they're thinking. Currently, we've had it, and you may want to speak to that, I don't know, but, we've certainly got anecdotal, feedback on a position. But in saying that, we've not received an official sort of wide response, and hopefully that will come in due course, and of course, that will form part of our thinking. Yes.
But, yeah, whether, is that information available to viewers? People are looking at it going, I don't even know what that is.
We
Is there
did
somewhere
do
they can find?
There was a page that got sent to us that was sort of the explainer as well, and I can't find it now, but
So, yeah, on the Let's Talk platform, we've got a whole list of frequently asked questions. It's really complicated, and it's really hard to ask people for feedback on this when there's so many layers to it. So the Let's Talk page has just got a list of lots and lots of points, and we've tried to populate as much information, and we'll make sure that it's a good idea for them to see those.
Yeah, if there's a link, not sure what this means, click here or.
Yeah.
even what at large means, we know what it means, but actually. it's
Yeah,
that-
point.
Yeah.
I'm actually encouraged by what we're doing, the approach we're taking to this. Saying to people, give us some simple answers to some simple questions, well, simple questions, but actually complex, dare I say, outturns perhaps. And having looked at what's on the platform proposed, the information that's there, is quite helpful for that. And if you think about it, it gives us a chance to develop a proposal, because we only developed one, with some information that we've got in the pre-consultation. I look back and look at things like district plan formations and those sort of things, and how they've been done over the years, and my involvement in. Same thing with that pre-consultation, just helps to inform you, to give you some confidence you're on the right sort of track. Because you could either go down a path that's the wrong one to go. So I think the questions are simple, straightforward enough, and I'm confident the information that we'll responsibly get back will give us some good guidance about a come up with a proposal. Actually, the hard work for us will be to come up with a proposal and actually crunch the numbers plus or minus 10%. That's going to be far more complex in reality, but some guidance from here will help. So I think it's and the other thing you find out by doing it, you might find you got it wrong.
Yes.
And that's okay. It's better than actually developing a proposal without some feedback and going, oh, whoops, got it wrong. I mean, more wrong. Worse. Anyway.
Stuart.
Two things. At our last community board meeting, the discussion was had whether the name Minitoto be put in it. We agreed to say no at our board. It's now in there. Questions, I guess, around that. Second thing is, if every survey we have, a 14-year-old's, if we send out a resident survey, a 14-year-old's eligible at that level as well?
Well, that's the Let's Talk platform is there.
Even though the voting age for voting now is 18. So what happens if we get, I suppose that's our job, isn't it? If it comes back and there's a whole heap of 14-year-olds telling us how we should be electing people. And we choose to go against that, how does it put us?
Always part of the matrix that we put into our consideration is the public's views and the breakdown of the public's views from there. You give more weight to the views of one demographic or one geographical demographic. That's when I think it through. I do. And I also get great weight if I see a tick box form filled in by 500 people, that doesn't carry as much weight as 500 people taking their individual time to give their individual thoughts by any stretch of the imagination. So.
And I guess I understand gathering that information, but is it broad enough? And that's what I've got. We really only got 6 or 8 issues in there. And like if we consider a Mary Ward and they come back saying, yes, what does that look like? Like, are we dealing only with the mana whena who are ours or are kaha? Is it a direct descendant of Karatani or Mac?
No, it would mean anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in our district who is on the Māori electoral roll could choose to vote in the Māori ward as opposed to the general ward. Is that correct?
I think that sounds really, I guess so. That's what I'm saying. It's broad enough for all this stuff.
We just answer your a question on the name. When we went to talk to the board about that, we got a steer. But once again, that just forms one part of the equation. And I don't know, I'm not quite sure how to put it into words, but we need to ask multiple parts of the community what they think. And then it will come back in the next part and say, hey, you know, so many percentage of people said that, or whatever the breakdown, the community board said this. So we can give a whole picture as opposed to just saying, well, the community board said no, so it's gone. This will just give us an opportunity to ask, and then, you know, we talked about waiting, you know, perhaps when you come to make a decision about the final proposal, you can give a weighting that, oh, well, maybe the community board said this, and and respondents said that. So that's the reason why we've kept it. I mean,
Yeah, I understand that, but I guess what I'm saying also, is it broad enough? Like, are the boundaries right?
Well, we've just not long gone through changing the boundaries to Menuriki or Rinsley Clock, you know, Vincent. Where do we, and what if they say no?
Well, if we had enough people say no,
we could explore it further.
And we do have a box there for any comments. So if someone thought, no, I think the Cromwell boundary needs to go to a different position, there is a box there for them to explain that. And as Paul has said, it's really an opportunity. There might be something really bright that we haven't thought about that could come out as part of the survey, and then it's not binding on this council. You will just be part of your thinking when you're making your decision.
And that's the whole intention of this process, is to make sure that our representation represents our communities of interest. And if our communities of interest have changed in the last 6 years, there's a chance that we might get feedback like that, and we have to be open to that. That's why we're asking, because this is our opportunity. So best to ask than not.
Basically. Couple of questions. What weighting do you put on unsure? Which way does that slide?
Again, we'll gather the information up and give it back to elected members as a tool. So we're looking for information that will inform you on options you're taking. If people are unsure, I think that's a natural thing because it's a very complex issue. If there's some feedback there that gives you a steer about something you hadn't thought of, or something that, you know, we need to give back to, we would be hoping for, but we don't want to force people into making a call if they are unsure.
Okay, and I'm going to try and use an example with numbers because it's the only way my brain's thinking about this. With regards to the spelling of Minatoto, if, let's just for argument's sake, 100 people say, out of 100 people, 70% say, no, yes, we do want to change the spelling of the name, and then this is in the pre-consultation. Then we go to consultation, and 70 it gets swung the other way. How do you reconcile that?
That's our job.
Sorry?
That's our job.
No, but how do we reconcile that? From those two things, we have that change. Yeah, so we have to make that decision. Yeah. There's two different, completely conflicting.
Yeah, well, that's
the easy part of our job.
Well,
the easy part of our job.
That's why you get paid the buck. Yeah.
That's our.
So you haven't got a steer from the community, even though you've been through the preliminary consultation, the consultation. That's my point.
You're getting a steer from the community if they use, but you know, it's divisive, right? So that's where it comes down to us making the decision, because whatever, you know, it's controversial. You're going to get as many people saying against it or for it. That's where we get the role of Solomon with the baby.
So what it does explain to me is it means that some people may not, they may have thought they've done the survey in the first instance and not done it in the second.
Well, it's probably critical in the preamble that this is that is explained that this is giving a steer because of the two-step process.
And like Paul pointed out, that if you've got the email addresses, you will update the survey responses. That'll be the opportunity to say the next step is.
Yeah.
So maybe you keep using those people, and we're not talking big, huge numbers here either.
No, but it was just my random
Yeah, yeah.
use of numbers, so percentage wise.
I just wanna,
Oh, righty, excellent.
get the father.
Here's a rocking really.
That can hopefully help traders on conundrum. That's what it actually is. Is that I recall many moons ago doing a referendum, no, it wasn't a referendum, we did on fluoridation.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And now it's come back 53% in favour.
Yeah.
And 47% against. Which way did the council win?
Yeah.
We said not a big enough majority, we stayed with no fluoridation and took the 47% favour that. So you're gonna get in that situation where in the end, you'll get the information and you'll make a call.
Yeah.
And there'll be people that say that you're wrong until they blow in the face, and then people say you're right, and it is what it is, but it's.
And we completely different than Minnetonka and agreed to put the fluoridation unit in, and then somewhere along that period of time, we never went into the Minnetonka. The plant's still sitting in Alexandria. Okay, but, right, before we go down that, Sally.
So my other idea that I, spoke to Saskia about before is that we use the Buzzy Bee timeline so that we can show people when they get the first email that this is where you're at. And then you're going to get an email back from us, and then this is going to be the next stage, and it just kind of moves them down the whole process so that you can visually see what the timeline is and when you're going to be asked to give more feedback in the future.
Thank you. We'll make sure we put that in.
Who's Buzzy Bee?
So we've got the Buzzy Bee on our, on the LTP.
Oh, that thing, right, sorry, I got you, yeah, I understand.
So it just visually shows people where they're at in the process.
Nat, did you have a comment?
No,
Cool. Stu, you had an alternate plan for the makeup of.
Yeah. And I guess they're going back to not broad enough. There's seven, you're going to solve 7 issues, whether the majority of them are, have we got the right number of people elected members in each area? But there's nowhere, and my proposal was this, that we have 1 from the Minnetonka, 1 from the Tibet, 2 members from Vincent and 2 from Cromwell. And whatever number we agree with, we have the ability to elect 3 or 2 at large. So in other words, I'll use the case example of Peter Kelly come down here, not in the CEO role, but had a wealth of experience in his industry before, lives in Omakau, probably doesn't want to stand against Tracy, probably wouldn't win against Tracy.
I wouldn't.
No, not at the moment, but has a massive ability to actually bring a whole lot of knowledge and wealth to our community and to our council, not as an independent councillor, but as, so we haven't had any provisions in there to actually say 3 at large, because you could have, very good people in the tenure or the Minnetonka that have shifted there to semi-retire or run their businesses from a distance, that we're not allowing an open discussion like, but effectively they could be an independent councillor because they live in, they could all be Cromwell for that matter. But I just think that's an opportunity we've missed with this, to have 3 at large.
And you've been boots deep in the laws of this.
I couldn't say definitively yes or no, because we'd have to find out, because it would have to be the plus or minus 10%.
Yes.
And a variety of, I mean, we've put a number of ideas, some harebrained, some others, to the Local Government Commission. And they've come back with sort of what they think would possibly fly, and those are the ones we've got. But we can certainly have a look and see if that would be something that might fly. And I know that New Plymouth, I think, have some who are at large and some who are very based. Yeah, but it would all be about the plus or minus 10%.
Not up that way.
Is it?
All based and quite a number of others.
Yeah. But it's all about the 10 to plus or minus 10%.
So pick up whose intent as opposed to the numbers. Is that maybe in that question 9, there's another option that talks about 9A or whatever, that talks about saying, if an option was able to be workable, where you had something like 2-2-1-1 rest at large, get some feedback about whether people thought that large component in particular was something that they were prepared to be part of.
Would it not be easier for Wayne to see if it will have it will fly but we'll put in a clause C or something that says if the idea of two at large will fly, it will be added to the document.
Yeah, same thing, yeah,
I think it just needs some clarity, otherwise it's going to confuse me.
Good idea though, eh?
That's a great idea, Stu.
I'm glad you
Could
found
you,
it on.
could you, whoever gave it to you, point out the name?
This is bad. It's not our other Bibles, it's in the whole head.
Yeah. There was one, I thought maybe somewhere we should, just note that 4 members of the community board is the minimum, because people may come back and no, we only need 3, law says 4 to 12. Martin?
Just for the benefit of members who went around at the time, why Vincent got called Vincent, we amalgamated because there was such a scrap going on between the naming of the ward. A lot of people wanted to just call it Alexander like Cromwell, but then it was decided to call it Vincent, so it didn't exclude Clyde or the Matariki or anything like that, so it became sort of all encompassing.
Because it was the Vincent County. So
Because it was the
as
Vincent
opposed to
County.
Alex Borough.
Yeah, it's supposed to, yeah.
Named after me.
Okay.
Named after me.
Vincent Piper, superintendent on Goldfields.
Whose effigy was burnt in Cromwell in about 1890.
So that's where it all
Can you
started.
remember it?
I know that.
Sausages on the ashes.
Was it a good afternoon? Did you have a nice cup of tea?
Right,
Marshmallows, he told me.
Just one, under community board representation, I just wondered if before we talk about the right number of community board members to represent Vincent and Cromwell wards, before that we could have a question that relates to, do we have the right number of community boards?
Yeah, and in response to that, we talk about the wards. Do we have the right number of wards? And you can forward the ward. So I guess we thought we might have covered that.
But we wouldn't necessarily have a board per ward.
Right, okay, we can pop it in.
Just in terms of that really broad stuff, like this is an opportunity to do things totally different.
You mean it's like Clyde might want to have
You
its
might
own?
say no boards, you might say there's only ones for that outline idiot in Manitoto, and actually Alexandra and Cromwell were well covered by having all these councillors and elected at large, or whatever it be, you might, yeah, or the other way around. But I guess just that opportunity.
Sure.
I think if you're proposing that, you're basically almost saying though, just countering that, you're almost saying there is no particular community of interest for the Vincent ward or the Cromwell ward.
Well, there might be, because it might be, well, actually.
There is currently, that's why it's a community board. It's the only reason why there's a community board, this is a community of interest. So I just wonder if, you know, by making that suggestion, you're saying potentially there's not a community of interest in Cromwell ward or Vincent ward.
Or you're saying that the community of interest is Central Otago.
We've got a large number of boards in comparative to lots of the other councils.
There's 13 councils out of 67 that have full wards like we do. So it's quite a significant minority.
There is, the Southland is fully, isn't it? And then within Southland is.
They've got a whole makeup.
Whole
But it is 13 out of 67. Some do have just one, you know, they might have who's on a.
Yeah, that works well, doesn't it?
Right, so we've thrown a whole lot of stuff at you, and I'm wondering how to, and Wayne hopefully will help me out, because we need probably a new C becomes D, and the new C will say something.
Oh, yeah, I thought about that. So, I think we've changed, so approving the question following amendments. So, yeah, investigating whether there could be a joint board at large council sort of mix. And if it is feasible, the edit, and then the second one about. Because any other ones you feel like?
Guys about the general steer?
Yeah.
And we'll add those definitions in as well.
Yeah. Nigel, can you see that up to you?
No, he can't.
We have
Share.
Let's go.
Just take a moment for Nigel to see that.
If I can put it in the chat.
And I think it's just, we've got a moment important to just recognise that this is statutorily, we have to do it every 6 years, because people might go, why are you doing it now when you've got the LTP? And we're going to get consulted on that. We've got this, just the way the years have fallen, we've got this down the LTP in the same year. Well, I don't know why they work it that way, but that's how it is.
Nigel, can you see those, changes there in the chat?
Wake up, Nigel.
He's there.
Is he?
Oh, he's frozen.
There was me. Ask if they know.
No. But he might be frozen.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you what, we'll, I think we, yes, I don't think Nigel would particularly be hit up over this. I can't see it being a split vote, there would be too much of an issue, and you'll pick up the phone in minutes. All right, I'll move A, B and C as amended on the board.
I'll second.
Martin second it. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. I know there's been a really large amount of work gone into that. Speaking of which, we now come to the rating policy amendment. Well, it's not the whole rating policy, that's for another time this year. Hello, Susan.
Good afternoon, councillors. Now, it's very hard for Susan and I to agree with the rating policy outside of our annual plan or long-term plan cycle. There was a comment actually earlier in the meeting around unintended consequences of the policy, and this is one of them. So you'll see from the paper there, at the last LTP, there was an amendment in some of the revisions, that had the addition of commencing 1 July in the year following application. Sometimes this will really make sense. A heritage remission, for example, they have to get usually it's quite tied up with the building consent, so they've been paying that for a while. For some of them, it really doesn't make sense. The one I give an example of, which isn't the current application which we have at the moment, is around the extreme financial hardship. If we did have one of those, to apply it the next rating year goes against the whole intent of why you have the remission. So what Susan and I are asking you to do is just do a minor tweak to the wording today to enable a bit of flexibility with these rating remissions so we can apply them as you have intended. So this one that we received back in August, if they had applied in July, they would have been eligible. For the sake of a month, it seems I think wholly unfair, and this was one of the ones that was changed last LTP. So what Susan and I asked today is that minor amendment through the LTP. We will revisit all these remissions with you and test with you whether you still want them in their form. So that will be a conversation we will have with you at a later date, but that's what we're asking of today. And you also note there, given that we have an application from August, which does meet with the criteria, and if it had been, say, a month earlier, would have been eligible for the remission, is that we seek your approval to basically deal with that application with the amended policy.
Questions, council?
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. I've got one question. The rating policy, but it seems to be populated with the dates for the current. So does our policy change every annual plan?
Yes.
So this is a living document policy.
Yes, it just has a remission.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's the right terminology to call it a policy. It doesn't quite make sense that your policy changes, but it's only for a 12-month period and then you do a new one. Sorry.
So we'll have a look at that,
Just
Neil, when we go through,
Yeah.
because every time we do the rate strike, which is based on the policy, we put that through our solicitors. So we will just check whether that's.
Just seems strange to have a policy that actually then has the current year's rating-based information in it.
Yeah.
You know, that's just doesn't, the rating policy should be the document that sits up there, and then you draw up your the implementation of the rating for the
Are you talking about
current financial year.
Yeah, so you do your rate strike,
Yeah,
but the rate strike is actually in the.
policy, that's so just,
So just check.
it's not important, well, it could be, it's just,
Yeah, it's actually really important that you get those things.
yes.
legally.
Oh, and actually, the worst thing is I recall, we're doing it this way because they told us years ago, this is how you must do it. But it just doesn't make sense. You compare to any other policy, they don't.
Yeah. So yes.
Everyone else is happy?
Yeah, I was got a question more so for Susan. And remission for financial hardship, in the COVID, we had a fund for financial hardship, people couldn't pay their rates. It wasn't remission.
We had a fund.
We had a fund that was derived out of the, well, it was.
No, we took funds out of the emergency grant.
For road interest, accumulated interest,
Yeah.
in case there was a hardship.
So
I think it's not a
there
regular.
is a set aside fund. Okay, so we have an emergency fund. And the guts of that fund really is around if you had something like earthquake in Christchurch, under the circumstances that we used to work with government, is if you had 40% of something of your infrastructure covered, then the government will provide you with 60%. That is the reason we have that emergency fund in place. So through COVID, if you decided that you needed to run hardship remissions, and it was coming out of that fund, then it's coming out of that figure. There isn't half funding as such for that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm going to bring us back to this paper though, because I think that's, if you want to follow that off.
Yeah, no, we're talking about rate commission, it's effectively the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on this paper? I just want to move A to E. Thank you, Neil. Seconded. 0. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Carried, go to the carry forwards. I know, you're awake. And it's the same team. Might be self-explanatory, really, isn't it?
Because those are commentary.
Has read any questions?
This is just normal course of business. It's slightly late this year just because we've been actually trying to work through the RTP process. It's significant, but the work is actually getting done. And anything that doesn't get done prior to the next financial year will be resorted within the LTP.
Okay, any questions, councillors?
Aye. Sorry.
On that basis, it sounds like Neil will move A to C on page 114 and Tony will second it. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Have we got Nigel back?
No, I'm just trying to call it less.
Then you personally.
I'm not hearing anything.
We're down the cellar,
Oh, possibly.
getting a road.
All right, hey, look, it doesn't really matter because it's only the news report now, so it's not missing out on anything. Alrighty, I've had a really interesting and enjoyable time going around Alexandra and to a lesser extent Clyde, putting little slips of paper under windscreens of people who are parking all day long in primarily the 120. It's quite interesting. People have no hesitation in parking all day in a 120 spot, but they don't in a 60 spot. And I can't understand quite how that works, but I've handed out well over 100 little slips of paper saying, hey, could you please stop doing that? Which tends to suggest to me that there very much is a parking problem in Alexandra at least. Although, to be fair, I did have a couple of retailers say to me, hey, since you've been doing that, things have improved. So whether it is simply going to be a matter of education or whether there might be the occasional random real person doing it, don't know, but it was really interesting. I think, you know, employers and themselves need to look at what they're doing to other people's businesses and their own businesses by tying up car parks all day, because it really is. The one that really got me was the day I was Centre Point car park, Limerick Street and just Harbour Street up to the monument. I think I handed out 21 little bits of paper and I went to the car park behind the warehouse and it was virtually empty. So for another 5-minute walk, the visitor, and it was right in the middle of the busy season, so visitors coming through the town, oh, I was going to go to that cafe, but I'm not going to because I can't get a park. They don't know about the one behind the warehouse. So it frustrated me, but it was in a really good way. If you want to have I never had a single person give me a hard time for doing it. Everyone was really, really supportive, saying this is a great idea. was fun. I did have dinner with some Beijing-based fruit growing and importing company last month, at the invitation of Manufacturers and Employers Association. That was this month. Nothing much to report from that. Going back in time though, I was at the 125th at Ranfurly. I don't think I reported on that last time. I can't remember. Wonderful day. Didn't make the night event, although I understand many did, from council, both governance and management. Just the art exhibition at the Art Centre was just absolutely fantastic. It was, I'm still raving about it now, and the only disappointment was it was only on for one weekend, because I would have taken Linda and gone back the next weekend to show her it was that good. I've made the special trip. It was magnificent. And well done to the artists of the Maniato. Pacifica Community Christmas celebration in Cromwell. That was a magnificent day. I really, really enjoyed it. The afternoon, because I did both that day. That was absolutely excellent. And just a good reminder that, you know, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I think of the Pacifica community and I think Vanuatu, because obviously we see a lot of Nivan. And I forget just the broad range of nations that are part of our community, Marquesas Islands and places like that, that I would be ashamed and have to admit I probably couldn't identify on a map. We've got a magnificent Pacifica community here, and I thoroughly enjoyed being part of it. Had a meeting with Minister for Rural Communities, Mark Patterson, and Miles Anderson, with some irrigation folk, just talking about what the new government might think about the Falls Dam and what can be done there. Attended, along with many others, the opening of a magnificent new pool in Roxburgh. Congratulations to Sally and her committee for making that happen. And I understand it's getting very, very good usage, Sally.
Yep.
Including by yourself, which is wonderful. Got to go with Stu and Robert to the Maniatoto prize giving, and I was also at the Dunstan prize giving. I love those occasions. I think it's equal parts, because you love them because of the hope and you know, the future ahead of them of the young people, and then they're equally depressing because you're so bloody old yourself and it's all behind you. So it's kind of a dollar each way. The sod turning ceremony for the Carlisle Gorge Cycle Trail, optimistically named because the ground was that hard you couldn't really turn any sod, but it's just going to be magnificent when that comes through, and really looking forward to it. And I did send out a letter from everybody, correspondence from the Anglican Synod on fossil fuel non-proliferation. Nobody's come back to me saying they urgently want me to sign that document, so I don't intend to unless I hear otherwise. Any questions, folks? I'll move it. Neil will second it.
Yeah, no, a comment on your art exhibition was fantastic. I was talking to them yesterday, and they're hoping to have it for a week or 10 days next week. And Tanya Murray, yesterday on high jump, Commonwealth Games 1990 high jump champion, has opened a shop in the main street of Ranfurly.
All right.
Where she had a fashion shop. They make their own fashion garments there, and all the young designers in the Minnetonka work there. And she's opened the whole building up for that art exhibition, those artists to showcase their stuff.
Magnificent.
So I was in there yesterday, gave her a big hug, and she's done a really good job, her and her husband, and it's really cool shop.
Really recommend people to go out to that art exhibition.
And I think even Graham Sydney said at the time, we can't believe the talent of the artist in the Minnetonka. He went to it, it was gobsmacked.
But we tend to go to these things. If we're in a town or a city with an art exhibition, we'll go to it, and this was as good as I've seen anywhere, and that's in Sydney, Melbourne, you know, the rest of the world. It was that good, and I'm not being ferocious.
The depth of the Minnetonka.
Incredible. I didn't see your pencil sketches there, but
No.
your etchings. I move, Neil seconded, all those in favour, aye, and against.
That's the shallow end you're referring to.
Page 122, the governance reports include the museum report and the status reports. Anybody got anything on any of those?
I got a couple of 3 in the status report.
Thought you might, off you go. They line up with my couple of 3.
Oh, okay. Well, my first one's on page 170, which is the long-term plan 21-31, which had an action in June about options to become in August, and then June, August, September, October, November, December, all day no change. So I'm clearly something needs to change.
Oh, that's the Wanaka Hub.
Yeah. So this will be seen to be me being picky. I don't mean to be.
Again.
I'll make sure that that's updated for.
Cool, thank you. Page 171. Pleasing to read that there's been no appeals received to plan change 18, and that's now operative. I think the same for plan change. Which one was it?
Dark Skies.
Dark Skies one, is it? No, The heritage one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but, and I'm assuming we're gonna publicly say something about that, so now they're up and operative or something like that, are we? I know we've approved it, appeal period, but just a good chance to say, hey, great news, these things are up and running. Because I think that they're pretty significant pieces of work. To get to where they got to, plan change, I think was just, the team that worked on that, bring that about, with some of the issues they faced was pretty significant. The other one for the historic heritage precincts wasn't quite so onerous, I don't think.
Plan change 22 dark sky, the hearings on 12th of March.
Yeah, that's in there. The housing policy one, that's done today, which is good. I now understand that, so I don't need to actually ask no question because it's been answered. Page 185. Oh, that's the one about planning change 18, yeah, 22. That's good. No, I think I'm going to shut up. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. I presume those ones that were plan changes that are, the appeal period's closed, we'll just see them closed next month.
Yeah, that's
No,
another.
Yeah.
Plan change 19, I'm just trying to find the,
175.
thank you, 175. Do we think we'll hear more about that?
There's another week in March. Yeah.
Mark?
It'll come to council for application in March.
Thank you.
And then what happens after that?
It's just, yeah, all process.
I do have one more.
Okay, Tony, you go to your one while I try to find my other one.
It's a comment, not a question,
Appeal
but
process
given
to
that
be
this
accepted.
council contributes financially to the Otago Museum, I thought that increase in visitor numbers that they have experienced, more than 45% over the previous year, is outstanding. And I just wanted to highlight that I think a big part of that is the superb food and coffee that they have on offer in the cafe. And if people are looking for a place with easy parking in Dunedin, here is a plug for the new people running the cafe at the museum.
Where's the easy parking there?
Well, in fact, so if you go past the museum,
Yeah.
so there's the car parks where we've parked before,
Yeah.
opposite hospital. But if you go past the museum down there, like on the main roads going each way, there's parking along the sides, and I can always get a park along here, and I think it's 120.
Yeah.
Then your time to go on lunch, come back out again. See a few old dinosaurs.
Don't, oh, she didn't. I have a question.
Yes, Tracy, a question.
The council mark, do we know when we're to expect any more information?
Or, last time I checked in, which is when that happened, said that, sometime in the first quarter, anyway, sometime early on this year, that'll be ready to go. So I can follow up again, see where they are.
I'll have a national council meeting on the 1st of March. So
I'm sure about that. It has gone through quite significant reform. I've been through it twice now. So
But,
have changed.
when last I heard, they were about to get sense testing over there.
That's exactly, yeah.
Just another thing, going back to Tamer's comment about the museum, I find it quite somewhat interesting that the Noah footprints that were taken out of the river, which I wasn't in favour of for a start, to be fair, has now been completely covered up because of Transit New Zealand have decided to change the river back to the original structure, and they stripped that whole area full of gravel, shifted the river between two different piers of the river, and then pushed all the gravel back over where the Noah site was. They've completely changed the river, and I thought an archaeological site or something as important as that would have at least been protected, and the river's been completely changed.
Now, I remember seeing something about that through one of the communications explaining what they were doing and their logic and how they were going to go about that. And I thought they had considered the archaeological aspect. I don't know where I read it. Was it
So my first thing,
NZTA newsletter or somewhere?
my issue about them shouldn't have been taken out in the first place. It could have been a major tourism event. Was probably just as well they did take them out, because even if they were there, they would have had to have covered them back up.
But they did, the museum, when we were down there, did say they would have lasted a very short period of time uncovered.
Well, Owen Rook have said they've been there for 75 years. But that's fine. I'm not disagreeing with that.
The guys at the museum.
But but the point being now, if there's any other, around there, that whole site, and I guess the best thing about it, they were found then, because it would have been all pushed back over top of them anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of earthworks done by New Zealand.
All right. Page 122, I'll move that we receive the report. Tim will second that.
Aye.
In favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Committee minutes, audit and risk from 12th of December. I'll move those.
I'll second them.
Thanks, Tracy. Any discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Next meeting is the 28th of February. And Thank you, Julie. We will, now, I'll seek somebody to move the resolution to exclude the public. Taylor, the reasons given, next 200, secondly Sarah. All those in favour? Aye, against, carried. We'll pause for a moment while we just change the lines and Julie has a chance to.
Yeah.
Go.